Guys, welcome to Tomo Talks. I am here with Marina Lazaris. She wrote the Bible of Love. We're going to talk about the masculine and feminine polarity. We're going to talk about relationship dynamics. We're going to talk about why men need to feel their feelings and not just remain stoic and strong. Stay tuned for this episode. You will not want to miss it. Is this new book, The Bible of Love, is this the new title for the book that you already wrote?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Your book, The Bible of Love. How to stop fucking yourself over and start making love to yourself, to her, and to life. Explain the premise of this book and like your idea of what this means, this Bible of Love.
Premise, I suppose it kind of came to me. I was around a lot of other authors and they were all asking me about love and relationships. And there was not like a guide out there that someone, like a man, could just go to and get theory from like a relationship coach and their perspective, like as a woman. So it almost came like a Bible, right? It's got 40 chapters, 40 questions and answers. It's got meditations, prayers. It's got real life examples in there. So yeah, it's kind of, if somebody really sat down with it, it's kind of all that they would need. Okay.
So when you talk about men specifically, one of the quotes that I believe that I have, you're acknowledging that like men need love and basically that men are almost afraid or not permitted to feel love and connection and emotion as they should. You know, where we talk about it, I talk about it all the time from a masculine perspective. And we've been going back and forth on social media for months.
Yeah.
You know, you send me a reel, I send you a reel, you know, we're discussing all kinds of things. But why do men, in your opinion, feel like they can't feel?
I just think it's society, it's subconscious conditioning. If you look at film even, men are not meant to cry. It's really heavily imprinted on the subconscious through our society that men aren't meant to feel. And it's a fine line and it's a really hard balance. And so there's so many conflicting, confusing messages out there for men. It's almost like they're just kind of a bit stuck. And they don't really know what to do next. And it's kind of being a voice to free them in that and to be like, hey, if you do feel your own feelings, then you're going to be able to feel somebody else's feelings. You're not going to run. You're going to be able to sit with her when she cries. You're going to stay with her when she's angry. And that is intimacy.
So you think that the inability for men to feel, or the inability, I think men can feel, but you think the inability or the hiding away from their own feelings is what causes them to basically run and hide away from feelings of everybody else, including spouses, girlfriends, whatever that is.
That's why I say in my book, the way you make love is the way you live your life. And that essence of like successful men chasing the next thing, the next car, the next woman, the next house, that all comes down to not being able to really just sit and feel. If you could really sit and feel and really connect deeply with yourself, you'd be more at peace. And if you was more at peace, there's nothing wrong with like, you know, growing and growth at all. It's a beautiful thing, but it's where it comes from. Is it coming from the heart or is it coming from fear and not feeling like you're enough? And ultimately, I believe a lot of the disconnection out there in relationships is all to do with people not being able to sit with and be with themselves. Because ultimately, the other person is you. The person that you pick to have a relationship is a mirror in some shape or form. And so what can't you be with, right?
So is the idea of like opposites attract, or is like, give me your idea on there? Isn't that what they say? They say like the opposites attract or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I suppose opposites do attract, but then at the same time, you've got your subconscious condition of what happened in your family when you grew up with your mum and your dad. And if you really haven't let go or healed things that have happened, you're going to see your partner as your mum or your dad or a pattern. Patterns repeat themselves as well. So they've done studies and they've seen like if a parent left at a certain age and say you were 5, then, typically someone would go on and maybe they would go to leave their partner again after 5 years. So there is actual patterns which happen. And if you look at the patterns and you're consciously aware of the patterns, you can break them. And go into meditation, hypnosis, whatever you want to call it, and have conversations to reset the energy, reset the quantum field. So it's not head stuff, it's kind of emotional release stuff as well.
Got it. That's hard. That's hard for men and women to do, to really dig up all that past trauma and everything like that. So you think that's really the main basis?
I don't necessarily think you have to dig up past trauma.
Okay.
But if something comes up in the present moment and it's there in the present moment, then you work with it. Because I don't necessarily think it's a good thing to drag people back. Because again, you're strengthening that neuro pathway. What you keep going over, you carry on strengthening it. So like if you go to couples therapy and it's like, come with a problem, you're looking for the problem rather than going, tell me about when you first met. Tell me about your happiest moment. Like, so what are you strengthening when you are with your partner or when you're going to somebody that's helping you, right?
Well, it's kind of like what you focus on becomes your reality. And, if you're focusing on negative, if you're repeating the negative, if you're, constantly reiterating or trying to remember, oh yes, this happened. Okay, tell me how you felt when this is why I hate psychotherapy. I hate a lot of counseling type of things. It bothers me. I think it's very counterproductive. Where I'm a little bit more, cut and dry. It's like, yeah, that sucked. That happened. Now it's time to move forward and focus on some happiness and some future instead of constantly reliving this past experience. And okay, now we're gonna cry. How'd you feel? It's like, fuck, just leave me alone.
And I totally get that, because sometimes it's keeping you stuck in the past and it's dragging you back and it's creating a problem when there isn't a problem there. But if it's
the problem's gone. Yeah, the problem's gone. It's gone. If you're bringing it back into the present, you're refeeling an emotion. Your body can't tell the difference.
No.
Your body emotionally and physiologically can't tell the difference whether you're feeling something from right now or you're reliving a past experience. And I think it's extremely counterproductive. That's why, I'm not big into psychotherapy counseling. I think life coaching, I think future scaping, looking into the future, making sure that you understand who you want to be. I think that's huge.
Yeah, I think it's kind of 100% reprogramming your subconscious, which happens between 0 and 7. How you reprogram that is when you wake up in the morning, when you go to bed at night, your brain's in theta. So them windows are great to reprogram, to tell yourself the new beliefs. Be consciously aware of beliefs that you do have and try and reprogram them through what you say, what you speak, these old traditional things. You are what you talk about, you are what you create. And then, if there's a past experience you can't get over, then that's where acting comes in. And so just even acting it out, like acting out a past experience and then acting out how you would have wanted it to go and having the person witness that to get over it, because sometimes people have emotions that just need to be released. Like there's so much anger here, there's so much tension here. Sometimes people can't just get over that anger. And so you need to release it, but then reset it in the subconscious. Like how would you have wanted that to play out? And sometimes you can't do that with the person in front of you, but you can do that energetically through meditation. So I think that's super powerful, because you need to let go, you need to forgive, but you can't just sometimes move straight to forgiveness. You need to process. And so, many men that I've coached, they're super angry, but behind their anger is so much that sadness, so much tears. So like when you let them be angry and you let them just express, they just start crying. And so not making no emotion wrong and being with the emotion also is a form of intimacy. And I think I've picked up on that in a couple of your videos. Men are hardwired to go out and hunt. And so they're going to want to fix a problem. But true listening is not fixing, it's just witnessing. And it's saying things like, okay, so what are your tears saying? What's going on with that? Just really being with whatever comes up.
Oh, you touched on something, acting.
Yeah.
Let's go into your history real quick, since since you just
Yeah, go
touched
on.
on this, because you're an actor, actress, whatever the PC word is. I don't even know anymore. It doesn't matter. But you were a film star. You were in films, and you did this in the past. I'm not sure if you're still in the field, but tell the people watching a little bit about yourself, your history, because
Myself.
this book came from something, whether it's experiences or whether it's a interest or a yearning or whatever, a spiritual calling. But you didn't you weren't traditionally a therapist. You weren't traditionally a love coach or a relationship coach. You went into this from somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like a life purpose thing. So when I was growing up, my dad was entrepreneurial. He had 20 men working for him. And he was quite spiritual, but, a bit like an Al Pacino type character.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't look after his health. He worked 7 days a week and he nearly died when I was young. So I saw like my dad going from this outgoing entrepreneurial man to nearly dying. And he didn't die. He luckily lived. He's very strong mindset, my dad, very spiritual, but he never came back the same. He never recovered from that financially. He never got out of victim mode. And it was sad. I saw two very unhappy parents. And so from the age of 10, I studied psychology, philosophy, theology. I was always into this stuff and I would read the Bible to get through my childhood. I had quite a hard childhood, I would say. But, at the end of the day, I think that we pick our parents to do the work we're meant to do. So my dad's Greek, my mum's Irish Ukrainian. So a lot of fire growing up in my household,
Mm-hmm.
as you can imagine. And so this was always my passion. I then went into sales at a young age. I led teams. I was always top sales performer. So I was in that hustle and grind. And also I was in the masculine because my dad didn't work and my parents, weren't working. And so I went into more of that masculine energy, I would say, of doing. And when I say the masculine, I mean the masculine is you have to go out there and push, and the feminine is more receiving and being looked after more, right? And trusting things will happen for you. And so it was very interesting. So then obviously having my own relationship, my own marriage, going through that breakdown, going through a divorce, and really understanding I'm born on Valentine's Day. So I looked for love outside of me. And so when I found someone that loved me, I gave everything up. Like anything that he wanted, I just did because I was so happy I was loved. And I think that going through a divorce and going through all of that, I think it's become such a passion of mine to be like, hey, that you're the love of your life, that you really need to be content. You need to do what you're passionate about, what lights you up. For me, I always loved acting. It was a way to process my emotions. It was very cathartic. If I acted out things that had happened in my life or other characters in my life, I could understand their perspective. I could have more empathy. I could integrate. I could express. Would I say it's more of a thing now? If I created TV series and things, if I was part of the creation and used my life experience. So when I had my kids, I was like, I wanted to do something. And I started studying counselling. Mm-hmm. I then went on to study coaching. And the coaching model I studied was the coactive coaching model, which came from psychology. So it came from psychologists that wanted to take people further. So it was a combination of coaching and acting combined. I studied that for 2 years. It's used in the positive psychology course in Harvard. And then I think having my children massively changed me as well. And I went in from like the doing mode into the being, which is the more feminine mode in that process. And I learned hypnobirthing to teach. I then went on to learn hypnosis and about the subconscious mind. Had this amazing mentor, had been around some of the best coaches in the world because I was always a top performer in sales. So I was always like, who are the best? I want to find out what they're doing. So coaching, psychology, mindset, philosophy's always been a part of my life. I didn't wake up one day and go, oh, I'm going to be a coach.
Yeah.
I'm going
It
to
never
help
happens.
people.
It never happens like that.
No.
That's not the case.
No. So, but this has always been like something that I've always done and always been interested in. But I think ultimately everyone just needs to play more. And if everyone just played more and had more fun, the world would be a better place. That's the highest form of love. That's, and being you, like being authentic. And so
Authenticity is hard for a lot of people, especially now, especially in the post-social media world, especially in the comparison game. Everybody is always looking at somebody else. Everybody's always looking at what do they have. It's always a grass is greener mentality. It's not like, I think people don't even really know who they are. And I've been in that place. I've been, in a place where I'm like, do I actually even know what I like? Do I actually even know who I am? Do I actually even know what kind of person I want to be? And when I started asking myself those questions, I was like, oh, fuck, I don't know anything. I don't even know what this person is. it was revealing, but I think it's a huge problem in society.
yeah, I love that because again, what you're talking to is the conditioning. Like people are conditioned to be like, this is what a successful man looks like. This is what success looks like. But is it if you don't feel at peace on the inside? Is it if you don't really know what lights you up other than somebody else or other than something you're attached to, right?
Something outside of yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get back into your book because there were
Yeah.
so many things in here that were so interesting. You wrote a chapter called Who Do You Think You Are? And it kind of goes into what we're talking about right here. Identity confusion, inherited expectations, expectation from outside, from social constructs. Explain to me, kind of where you were coming from your perspective on the Who Do You Think You Are chapter.
Round coming back to authenticity, really, coming back to like actually stop playing different roles. I think it's really hard for men because there's so many conflicting messages. It's like, hey, be one of the lads. It's the KPI of manhood. How many women have you slept with? Woohoo. And
the KPI of manhood is a great way of saying that. Holy shit. That is your business. That's your business sales side that just came out of you. That was amazing.
But it is, right? So then, you've got these conflicts and these narratives which really don't serve men. So they're like going out there and they're being told like pull all these women and have these types of women, but then marry the wife, right? And so then they're like being like this person to the wife, this like person to the boys down the pub or whatever you want to call it in America. And then
No, I like boys in the pub. We're going with the English version of this, the proper English version.
So it's like, well, who are you genuinely? Do you like that player lifestyle and having all these different women? Do you like being at home? Do you like what is your needs? What do you like? Are you acting out these different roles? Like, okay, now I want to get the wife and she needs to look like this and be like this and it's just, it stops people from being authentically them and being honest and being like, this is my life and this has been my experience and I moved towards that and I didn't like it, so I moved away from it, and not having judgment and creating safety and real connection.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to give a little bit of a personal story with something that has been in my recent relationships, and when I started understanding exactly what I want, which comes from finding out exactly who I am. Because finding out who I am and understanding who I am and how and who I want to be, not just who I am, but I project who I want to be. I am this person. I'm walking this path, right?
Yeah.
Once I started doing that, and I found myself in relationships where I'm like, whoa, these are not the way that I want to live. And I'm not okay with this kind of stuff. And I address it and I try my best to communicate it in the most stoic, sensible way, not screaming about it, not yelling about it, not fighting about it. I'm still a man, so we're kind of big gorillas. We're kind of, we're still a little bit of dumb animals, but, I try to communicate that. And then when it doesn't end up going that way, I'm very good at just being like, well, it's not working. Fuck off. Kind of cut it off.
I think it's beautiful what you're saying, because when you know who you are, it's, you know what you're going to move towards, but then you know your values, and
Yes.
it's around how does that person also make you feel when you're not with them, right? So when you're not with them, how do you feel? And if they're bringing you more chaos than peace, then automatically you have to start questioning things like, why am I going towards chaos? Why am I going towards drama?
Yeah.
Why, and then understanding it's something within you, and then going, well, it's okay. It's okay for me to let go. It's okay. I'm okay. Whoever stays, whoever goes. You don't know, actually. To be honest with you, there's only so much theory you can actually learn before the fact that you need to go in and you need to kind of see, and the other person teaches you what to do next. But if you're good and secure within you, you don't mind who stays and you don't mind who goes. And that's freedom. And that's the goal.
Why do people have such a hard time getting that through their head when it comes to, because I've like read things about like attachment theory and, certain types of emotional and relational attachments. Why do people, is it just people are afraid to be alone, or are they afraid to maybe, are they afraid of the unknown? Almost like it's, hey, the devil that you know instead of the devil that you don't. Could it get worse? Is it like, why is it so hard for people to get past that?
I think it's subjective. I think it's, your brain wants to keep you safe. So if you look at the neuroscience element, your brain's going to want to keep you safe. So it's very difficult to move away from what's familiar to you. It's difficult to move away from routine. It's difficult to burn your life down and start again. It's not easy. I have a lot of empathy for that. So it's kind of like, okay, if you're going to stay, wake up with that person, thank God they're with you, create a ritual, be grateful that they're in your life, and then stay. And if you can't do that, then leave. And it's kind of, so, there's a very much a clear...
It's an A or B. It's A or
yeah,
B.
It's kind of a bit, clear cut, because why are you going to stay with someone, put them down, say bad things about them, not be appreciative of them, not try and bring your best self? And I think this comes back to your previous point. Also, it's about knowing yourself and knowing what you're creating. It's like how you start a relationship is also your story. So how are you starting it? If you're starting it when the other person's married to someone else, or, if you're starting it not in integrity,
In a
negative frequency, then that's going to continue, and you're going to continue in that. And it's almost like, ideally, you can have higher states of love and consciousness if you start something with love and intention. So you decide, and that's around knowing who you are, doing the right thing, being like, oh, she's married, I really shouldn't go there. Or
kind of makes sense.
I mean, it does make sense, but some people it doesn't, right?
Some people don't care. Some people. Like words in the English language that have been just completely, like they're on the verge of being lost in our language, in the English language. Honor, integrity, honesty, trust. You know what I mean? Like these are words that people don't even think about. And like, I run my life with honor and integrity first all the time. I'd say, one of my biggest life principles is that I walk at all times with honor and integrity. I'm not perfect. I have fucked that up majorly several times.
Of course.
Yeah. It's normal. We're humans,
It's normal. Yeah.
Yeah. But bringing it back to your safety first mentality, because that's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it a safety first mentality because that's what our brain wants to do. Our brain wants to be safe,
Of course.
So with that safety first mentality, I hate that. When I feel like I am being safe, when I feel like I'm taking the safe way, I immediately want to rebel hard against that. Like when it comes to business, when it comes to even like simple things, going to the gym. I'm like, no, this is the easy way. Fuck this. I want to go hard. I want to make this as hard as possible. So with that safety first mentality, do you think that men specifically, since you do coach men, do men need to completely work against that safety first mentality? Maybe not necessarily to their detriment, but should men work at kind of going through the hard, being in a hard life, doing hard things at all times? Or is there a moment for rest? You know what I mean?
I think it's balance, isn't it? It's balance. I think there's an element of course, you want a man to be able to go out there and hunt and create from nothing and have gone through adversity and know that he can still survive. From a hunter-gatherer mentality, of course, that's attractive, but you also need someone that can be peaceful with you and just cuddle and watch a film. Does that make sense?
Well,
So
100%. I'm with you on that one. You
yeah,
know,
so you need both. You can't. So I think as well, like a woman's hormonal cycle is very different, right? So at one stage you might want the caveman, the other stage you want someone that's going to just sit and listen, and so
yes.
that's hormonally as well. So us kind of knowing and being able to adapt, right? It's not the strongest of the species that survives; it's the ones that can adapt. So a man that can adapt is attractive. That is, physically attractive and do his own thing. That's not a bad thing. The safety comes from within. Safety and peace is within you. It's like whatever happens, I'm calm. I've got this. It's like, I don't know, if something happens to me, I'm like, okay, I've fallen off or I've been knocked over or something's happened. Like I got knocked off my bike when I was riding the other day, and I was like, oh, I'm good. I'm cool. And it's
Yeah.
not about. It's that mentality which creates connection, trust within you, but it starts with you. If you haven't got that, then it's very chaotic.
Yeah, and that's the kind of chaos that I found myself in personal relationships, where, I personally I think maybe we'll see. I think I'm much more in tune with my emotions and my softer side than a lot of men. I'm very, and I didn't always used to be. Don't forget, I was a police officer for 12 years, so I very much put my emotions aside for a very long time.
Yeah.
Figured out that was not the right thing to do, But I want to come home and be soft for a woman. Obviously, if a burglar breaks in, I'm the most savage killer that you've ever seen in your life, and extremely capable, which is also sexy for a woman. But I want to be able to go onto the couch and I want to be able to cuddle and snuggle, and I can watch a chick flick. I'm very comfortable with my sexuality. I don't care about that. You know what I mean? But if I come home to chaos and I come home to a non-peaceful place, I said in several videos and podcasts and social media things, I'm like, what does a man really want in a woman? And what does a woman really want in a man? I can't speak for women. You can. But what does a man want in a woman? Peace, tranquility. They want the queen of their castle to have their castle peaceful and loving and feminine, and and they want to be brought into the arms of that warm, loving environment. Because whether we're actually at war or, in a metaphor sense, at work all day, providing for the family, we want to come home and we want to be able to just come and just have our woman get that hug, right? Which is good for the woman too. I think that place is a really good balance.
Yeah, I think hormonally you need that, right? So it's that connection. And I think a lot of the problems in relationships are down to connection. So the connection sometimes goes for different reasons, and people blame one another rather than getting the connection back or remembering the small things somebody liked. Like
What
they
kind of
liked
connection are we talking about
just
exactly?
all connection, just
All
in
connections.
general.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No.
But
Yeah.
yeah, just all connection, because you end up just forgetting, and intimacy is needed, right? So if you're not kind of looking into someone's eyes and going, look, you're sad today, I kind of see you. Like, what do you need? And you're just ignoring them and you're just plowing on as a man.
Yeah.
And and then, and then thinking I'm doing all this and providing, I've done the dishwasher, she's still not happy. Well, she just wants to be seen, or she wants to be told, she's beautiful or held, or, and it takes 2 minutes. But I think that's because we're all so busy and it's such a masculine driven society. And it's like,
Yes.
do, achieve. People don't slow down. They don't stop. They don't appreciate. And I think that's for men and for women.
Okay. How do we accomplish that? How do we change that? Is it? I mean, we're working against the side. Like, how does that change?
I think it's just dropping into that. And I suppose maybe going back to traditional values of just gratitude and grace. As I was saying, the way that you
Okay.
start your day impacts your subconscious. Knowing about, what's important around that with the other person, and just starting with intention rather than reaction. I think Okay, thank you for being in my life. I choose you today. Great.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
Gratitude.
Gratitude, but also like almost like marrying that person every day. Like it's, I think a lot of people think when they get the person that's there or that, you know, but it's not. And so if you have that ritual of being like, I marry you today, you know, tomorrow's not guaranteed. Do you choose me? What happens is expectations go. And when expectations go, you're able to appreciate what's truly there.
I absolutely love that. Marrying that person every day and asking, "Do you choose me?" That is, I wrote that down. That might have to go in my notes. So like, that's really good.
I talk around
That's
this because everyone's number one value is freedom. Everyone's number one value is freedom.
everyone's number one value is freedom. Yeah.
So
Okay.
everyone's
So is that kind of like, are they? Is it almost like a feeling of like you're surrendering your freedom every day, a little
because
bit?
you're choosing. I think if you've got a value around
Okay.
loyalty, right? You know, obviously you're going to be loyal, but you can choose. You're at choice. It's almost like people become someone else when they're in a relationship. I can't look
Mm-hmm.
at another woman. I can't. Oh, yes, you can, but obviously just don't act on it. Like it's okay if you find someone attractive. It's normal. We're
Yeah.
animals. Channel that into your work, and that's where I talk around my chapter on sex in the book. Channel that into your work. Know that that's your creative life force and be able
Mm-hmm.
to have them conversations like so it doesn't get shut down, that you're both secure, you both know there's attractive people, but you're choosing one another, right? It's
We're going to get
different.
into sex in a second, but I have a question.
Yeah.
Are traditional roles in relationships outdated?
Are they outdated? No, I don't think they're outdated. I think that when you have children, if you like it or not, you're going to have to be at home. And
That's going to
so
be controversial. You're going to piss a lot of feminists off on this one.
it's just the biology. It's where you're wired. It's like when you have children, if you are going through that, your body changes,
Hmm.
everything changes. You're looking at years to get back to how you was previously. You're in that nurture mode. You have built the nest. We are mammals. And so really and truly, men do need to be able to go out and look after you and protect and provide so you can really hold that feminine space at home.
How do women get past this modern feminist idea? And I hate to keep throwing the feminist thing out there because, I don't think there's a single man out there, maybe there's a couple idiots out there that are like, okay, all feminism was bad and women should not have equal rights. That's fucking stupid. We all
Yep.
know that. Okay, that's dumb. First wave feminism was extremely important for women, and I agree.
Yeah.
I think we should have those baseline equalities. But, third wave feminism, I don't know, is there a fourth wave feminism? Whatever it is, where they started kind of demonizing the men
Yeah.
and telling women to be basically men.
Yeah.
That's completely screwed up a lot of dynamics here in the relationship sense. So, how do you convince these younger women, especially who've been brought up in this, how to get that deprogrammed? They need to deprogram from this. And then obviously I work a lot, with younger men trying to explain to them like, hey, bro, you need to be masculine. Like women want a man. They don't want a chick in a man's body. They don't want
No.
this beta weak, whatever the
No.
fuck is being bred into this society now. These men, I hear from women, there are no good men. There's no masculine men out there. And then I hear from men, there's no traditional women out here. What are we doing?
Yeah, and I think, you've hit something really big. It's kind of like it's that blame culture rather than going, how can we create safety? Like, okay, for a
Yes.
woman not to be in this mode where she thinks she has to provide and she has to hustle and grind, she needs to be with a man that makes her feel safe. And he needs to be safe within himself. So he needs his emotions and his everything to be a place of security and safety. I mean, there's a lot around men being vulnerable, but there's a fine line. So if you're going to start crying to me like you haven't got it together, everything's not safe now,
Yeah.
then
Yeah, you're not dependable. You're not dependable.
you're not. So I think it's so difficult for men because they've been fed this, be vulnerable, but there's a fine line. Okay, if I'm crying and you see I'm upset and it brings you some emotional resonance because you feel upset too because you've got empathy, then yes. But if you're going to sit there and cry and be like, I'm depressed and my life's over and I don't know what to do, don't do that to your partner because they're not going to find you attractive.
You're going to lose respect for them. You're going to lose respect and attraction for them.
You're
a
going to
lot,
lose
because,
attraction.
yeah.
But I think men haven't been explained this. And so men need other women they can get advice from. They need a man group. We all need a village. And I think society has fed men and women that, okay, it's just one another and you just complete one another. And it's not true. One person can't be everything for you. And so you need to know who the right people are to go to and the fine line between this whole masculine element. To be a man is not toxic. To be a gentleman is amazing. If women are offended if you open the door or if you do something, she's being toxic.
Ridiculous. That's
she's
ridiculous.
Being toxic.
That's ridiculous. I've seen videos of this and like, can you believe that this man opened a door for me and he was waiting for me to go through? I don't need my door opened. Or can you believe this man wanted to pay for the whole bill for dinner? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, are you crazy? This is what you should want.
I think it is crazy because, again, if you think of it like hormonally, if the man can't pay for the meal, then he's not going to be able to look after you if you have a child with him. So you're not really going to want to sleep with him. Because if you look at the kind of basic primal, just basics, and it's like, okay, if you can't afford a meal, that's okay. Like, take her to a picnic and buy the picnic. It can cost you £10. It's about creativity.
Something, yeah.
It's about creativity. But again, as well, I think men are fed that they need to necessarily do that. So they watch a film and they think they need the car and to take them to the best restaurant rather than going, hey, what do you like? What are you into? Oh,
Sure.
you're into cooking. Let's go to a cooking class or maybe not I'll cook for you on the first date. But, there's different things that you can do. Be creative and you're still valuable as a man, even though you haven't got finances. And even some men that do have a lot of finances, find out about her because, and if your values connect and create something different that you both remember and enjoy rather than going through the conveyor belt of, I don't know, meals or coffee dates. Because apparently I saw a video around don't go on a coffee date with a man. And
why? What was the reason? Coffee dates are bad?
But I was just looking at that as it's not about the coffee date. It's about effort and intention.
Got it.
It's about creativity. If you can keep being creative, lockdown can happen. You'll have the best time because you're with somebody that can create something. Put candles on the floor, sit on the floor. I don't know. Do like a little adventure. Like it's that childlike play that we forget and that we need more of.
Two of my most favorite dates I've ever been on. I went on a first date with someone. And I knew that she liked art, and I'm an art fanatic. I love art. There's art all over my offices. There's art all over my house. I have art from the 16th century. I collect. I love art. I can look at art, and I can literally, it'll tell a story for me. I do the same thing with music. I can see colors when I listen to music when my eyes are closed. So, I found this out. First date, art museum.
Yeah.
And she was like, nobody's ever taken me to. It's always dinner. It's always lunch. I'm like, no, fuck that. We're going to the art museum.
Yeah.
And we went and we evaluated art on our first date. We went and got some food afterwards.
Yeah.
But while we were eating, it was all about art.
Yeah.
That's different. Another date was laying in a backyard. And this was something that was a little more progressed in a dating situation. You're not going to do this on a first date. We were at my house and we went and put a blanket down and we had a little fire outside and we laid and we looked at the stars.
Yeah. It's
just
romantic.
laying, looking at. It's romantic, but it's simple. It's simple. It's attention.
It's simple. It's tuning into someone and thinking, okay, and having that them shared values and them shared passions, and then creating from that. So if that is art, and also like you're going to enjoy it, right? So if you enjoy it, then the date's going to go better. And I think it's scientifically proven that it's very hard to get to build attraction on a dinner date.
Yes.
And so that should be done later on anyway. And so, yeah, like things like that, you're going to remember that date because you love art and she loved art. And then together you were like, wow. and you're going to connect so much more because of that. And so that's the way.
Yeah, yeah. Now, is that masculine feminine polarity, like, we talked about the gender confusion side, the feminism, the masculine feminine polarity. I look at masculine and feminine almost as yin and yang, almost like
Yeah.
we're damn near polar opposites. I don't know if people agree on that. People say, well, there's some things that could be similar. Yes, there could be. But the general rule that I'm talking about is that we are opposites. Together we create a whole. Together we create a strong environment, when we're both rooted, when a man is rooted in his masculinity and the woman is rooted in her femininity, we both complement each other in such a way that we build a very powerful force. Is that the problem with modern relationships, dating, marriage, is that polarity has now been completely destroyed, where it's been too intermingled?
I think it's interesting with the polarity thing. I think I see a lot of women in their masculine. Even when I look at other like successful entrepreneurial motivational speakers, they're often with very masculine women. And they also want to be like this, and I look at them and I just think, oh my gosh, that must be really stressful. So there's an element of not
You're
competing.
dating yourself with this hyper masculine person, but it's a woman.
But I think to myself, like it's that like knowing that you're safe within, not competing with your partner, loving and respecting them, and bringing more of that love, respect, and honor, and not competition, and being in awe of what they're doing, what they're creating, and going from that. So obviously the masculine and the feminine, yes. But I think there has become a little bit of element of blame, like, oh, she's too much in her masculine, or he, I think it's an understanding that society is pushing people to want more and more things. And it kind of comes from that, or to be someone or to do something, but actually it's not honoring and really valuing just presence and being and warmth and love and nurture and kindness and all these things which are kind of so valuable but so not appreciated in society. And so if you see more of them dynamics and that harmony and people rising like that, then that's the way, I believe. But you need to be able to do both, right? So if your husband nearly dies, like my dad nearly died, you need to know how to take over the business, right? So there's an element of, again, not control, but pure love and sharing and togetherness. So again, the element of a woman just staying at home, well, that's why many men probably have affairs at work. So there's an element of creating something together. It's almost like you create children together, then what you're going to create together. So I think that creation process keeps you connected. Having a shared vision keeps you connected.
I like that. So we're not going to play the song because we don't have the audio rights, but I mean, let's talk about sex, baby. Like, what is that song? Let's talk about you and me. That's a great song. So let's talk about sex.
Yeah.
You mentioned just in this last part of our conversation, and that's why the man, cheats with his secretary or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So I want to start the sex conversation, on men first, because you coach men.
Yeah.
Why is it so common for men to have this disconnected sexual behavior and compulsive behavior sexually? Is it natural? Because you hear both sides, You hear both sides. Is it natural that men have this compulsive, disconnected sexual behavior? Are men meant to be truly monogamous? Or is this a social construct? Or is it a mixture of both? Or is it individual and personal? I have no idea. The conversation can swing in so many ways. What is your opinion on this when we're talking about sexual behavior in general?
So I talk around this in my chapter, Love for Sex. I think it's sometimes the way that somebody is connected. I think the way you make love is the way you live your life. If you're not connected to yourself, to your body, to your emotions, then of course, it's just, you're going to be disconnected. So you're going to want the next extreme thing. And I think there is that kind of, again, conditioning on men to not feel. And then porn's thrown on men. So then they're watching porn and then...
Super toxic. I'm big on no porn. I'm big on no masturbation for men. I'm big on both of those. No, none of that.
Well, yeah, I agree. I think the thing is, again, men are not really dropping into the moment. So I talk about what is the difference between making love and fucking in my book. When you make love, you are present in the moment. Doesn't matter
Okay.
what it looks like. In my opinion, you are there. So you are tuned into yourself. You know your body. You know what you like. You know what you don't like.
Yep.
Then you can tune into them and you're like, oh, they like being kissed on the arm or the neck. And then you're not worried about the next stage. You're just really present. And if you're really, really present like that, you make love, you go into flow state, you go into God state, you almost like meditate. That is when you make love. I think many people never even get there. They're just, and so many men, and it's horrible because it's conditioned through film, through society, on shaming men on performance, especially in the
Yep.
bedroom, shaming men on size and longevity and all this stuff, which is
I mean, size matters a little bit. It can't be like this.
I don't know. I mean, I know, again, I have got friends that didn't matter at all. I know women.
Really?
Yeah. Because
Okay.
for them it didn't matter. So I think
You just made a lot of guys maybe smile a lot bigger than they maybe were before this.
but no, I think if you have a real connection there and somebody's really tuned into you and it's,
Yeah.
that's the intimacy, that's the central bit. So I think a lot of men, again, this is where meditation, hypnosis comes in because they're so worried about the performance that they're not actually present. So if you're not present, you're just fucking. You're already future thinking than the outcome or the end goal, but it's never about that, especially when you make love. And I think, again, it's super difficult for men because nobody's saying this, nobody's telling them this, and porn especially isn't telling them this, right? So
Well, yeah. I mean, that gives you so many behavioral and dopaminergic problems. Your dopamine sensors, the way that you look at pornography and the extremeness of pornography, you won't even react from a dopamine sense to a woman in front of you because of what happens in what you're watching in pornography. It's really bad. Really bad for your mentality.
it's really sad because it's pushed on men like so much through like Instagram, social media. Like it's literally thrown on men. It's thrown on everyone, but especially like being a young man, it must be so difficult because who teaches them this stuff? Who says like, actually, just be really present, just let go, just enjoy it, and then tune into them. That's when you're going to have the best making love experience and go to another dimension. Like nobody says this. And so
Yeah.
I
Well,
think,
the idea of making love seems so Hollywood to people, and it did to me for a long time. You know.
yeah. Yeah, explain what you mean, like Hollywood.
So, like, if you look at like a romantic movie or a romantic comedy, you see that slow, passionate lovemaking thing. I didn't experience that intense lovemaking type of environment sexually until like 2 years ago, and I'm 40 this year.
Yeah.
I never experienced it. But also in my younger years, I also didn't really know who I was. I was having maybe some personal confidence things, regardless of my success. Finding out who I was and being confident in who I am and what I want and how I behave and, being able to look at myself in the mirror and say, yeah, good. We're in a good place. When I got that, that's when I think I was able to unleash that.
I think and it's amazing that you have. I think many people never do. And I think,
Yep.
but when I say making love, I don't necessarily mean it being slow or whatever. I just mean that you're present.
No,
You're
but the
present.
passionate connection, right?
But I
That's
just,
what I mean about the Hollywood part. The
yeah.
Hollywood part is like that slow, passionate thing.
But I think people get confused with that because I think it's just you being super present because you actually can't predict what will happen next because you're both in the moment. And that's the magic. But again, people want to predict it. They want to script it. Oh, I'm into this or I'm into that. Well, how do you like really know until you've met that person, you've met their energy and you've co-created and you've let go? And again, many people can't let go. And it's
What are they not letting go of? What are they not letting go of, like preconceived notions or ideas of what sexuality is, or is it maybe social stigma? You know what I mean? Or all of that?
maybe it's a combination of it all. I think again, it's having to know what happens next. Maybe it's control. It's like,
Control.
okay,
Okay.
I need to control, or I need to know, or this is what I identify with, whether it's sexually or whatever. People want to be put in a box. There's no boxes. Like, why would you need to be put in a box? It's almost like, okay, just flow in the moment and give yourself freedom to be you. And that's when you make love.
I love that. You wrote, and I'm quoting you, "The way you make love is the way you live your life."
Yeah.
Does that transverse? The way you live your life is also how you make love, or does it only go one way?
The way you live your life. Yeah. I think the way that you live your life, if you're a passionate person and you're lit up, then you'll probably be the same in the bedroom. If you're very controlling, I mean, look, it reverses both ways because people play out power dynamics in the bedroom too. And there's all sorts of stuff going on. But
There's some weird shit out there.
yeah, I know. I went to a talk last night on this and I was like, oh. But again, each their own. And is that, they were looking at the neurodiverse element and kinks and things like that. People who are neurodiverse tend to be more into that stuff. So it's not about judgment. And I would then question, is there something around feeling and having to go to extremes to actually feel and playing that out sexually? And again, I think, as you said, the rise of the internet, the rise of all these things is making people even more disconnected from their body, from themselves, from actually genuinely just feeling in the moment and being okay with it. Like me, like I blushed, I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
before, I wouldn't be okay. I'd make it wrong. I'd make it worse, right?
Yeah.
So it's just being with what's there and just showing up.
Do you one of the things that I don't understand about sex and sexuality, I'm not going to say that I'm like open sexually to everything, and but conversationally, I'm open to talking about sex. I'm open to the idea of sex. There's a lot of people that are very kind of like shy and squeamish. I see that a lot in the West, especially typically in America. It's like very squeamish. Like it used to be. It used to be like when it came to and it's almost like sex is bad.
Yeah.
Like sex is bad, and now with the dawn of what's happening on social media and OnlyFans and all this other shit, sexualization is, very prevalent. But still, there's people out there that are like, sex is bad. Is sex bad? Is there any way that sex can be bad?
I think that everyone had more sex and laughed more, the world would be a better place. I think that's my absolute best quote I've ever said. I honestly do. I just think, how could it be possibly bad? Like, everybody does it. The president has sex. Like, why doesn't everyone just talk about this? And people then shame people when it comes to sex. The only way that people get abused is because people don't talk about sex. And so we need to have these conversations, and they should be had straight away. Like I say this in my book around dating. You should be asking someone, how do you make love? And why not straight away? Because if they're not on the same frequency as you, then
don't waste your time. Don't waste your time.
Well, it's almost like you know what you like. I mean, by a certain time, you would hope. And if you don't, then kind of get to know and then be like, well, how do you make love? And it's such a good question because people haven't got a time to do that whole, I'm just going to copy you. I'm just going to mirror you. And so you kind of weed out the people that don't have a strong sense of self. Or, again, it's almost like, be honest, be open, be you. But if you ask it early on, you get the truth.
So if everybody had more sex and everybody was loving more, the world would be a better place?
Yeah.
Probably right. I have a question.
Yeah.
And it could be different for both sexes. Does body count matter? Does the amount of sexual partners you've had in your past or in totality matter? Because it matters for men more than it does for women in some certain senses. Obviously, I think it matters for both sides. Like you don't want to date the town hoe, whether it's a man or a woman. But does that matter, from your perspective, or should it matter? You know what I mean? Like, should it matter to people about the amount of sexual partners or how sexually active someone is when it comes to relationship dynamics? Because like you have the pair bonding thought pattern and all these other things. What's your perspective on that?
I think what matters more is asking questions like, have you slept with more than one person in one day? How long have you left it between sexual partners? I think that matters more. Like, I think, and it matters from an emotional intelligence perspective. Like, you cannot be connected to your empathy. You cannot be connected to yourself if you slept with multiple people in a day, or you've, I don't know, slept with someone one day and then, I don't know, 3 weeks later you're sleeping with someone else. I know it's seen to be different with men, but really, I think someone that's in tune with their emotional intelligence and their empathy would process something. So they would have a clearing around that, and there's no judgment. There's an element of going, okay, as long as that person knows themselves, knows what they like and what they don't like, then there shouldn't be, I don't believe, judgment on it. I think sex is a great thing, but again, I think being open and honest and having non-judgment and being able to talk about these things is the most important thing.
So you don't think there should be judgment at all? You don't think a man should judge someone or a woman if they've had a certain amount of sexual partners, or vice versa, a woman judging a man that's had, you know, so many sexual partners? Do you think the judgment is bad on that side and it's more just an understanding part? I think it's also like it's a qualifier question, maybe, you know, like, hey, I have this standard, like this is a standard, and you know, if you're someone who's dating me and you slept with 100 men, probably don't want to date you. Personally, it's a personal opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I understand where it's coming from, because it's like, if it's that easy to move in and out of a connection, then they might not be able to stay. They might not be loyal. They might not be connected to themselves. They might not value themselves.
Could be a red flag, is what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. But then when I look at personally with my ex-husband, I didn't ever ask how many people he slept with.
Sure.
So it was never really something that it was kind of like a private thing to him. So I don't know. I think, again, for a lot of men, it is seen as the KPI of manhood. And I would say
the KPI of Manhood is my I might title the episode KPI of Manhood.
But I just think, again, I think a big red flag would be, has a man paid for a prostitute?
Okay.
That would be a massive red flag, because again, he can't be that connected. The woman doesn't want to sleep with him, and he's paying for sex, and she doesn't really want to do it, but he's getting that gratification. So again, you would have to then be slightly disconnected, maybe on the psychopathic, I personally think, realm.
Yeah.
So this is like intelligent observations to make, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But non-judgments, because people can change. People can, there's an element of people can change. Everyone has a different path that they can go down. So it's about giving people love and not judging, but then just genuinely thinking, like, again, I think society pushes people for instant gratification.
Way, way, way too much. Instant gratification is a haunting thing for most of society, I think.
Yeah, so I think it's around non-judgment. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because some of the top Casanovas slept with so many women, and women just loved them. And
yeah, well, I mean, there's the idea also of, like, women don't really care the amount of women that a man slept with, but men very much care, because we value different things in the opposite sex. Where the idea, and again, this is just ideas, this is not my idea or your idea, men desire chastity, women desire experience. I've heard that statement. Men desire chastity, and basically, we're possessive. I'm possessive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want my woman to be all mine, and never want to think of anybody ever looking at her or touching her, because I'm possessive as a man. We're big apes ultimately,
It's how we're hardwired, right? So it's a chemical.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, from an animalistic perspective.
From an animalistic, I don't think it's natural, like this whole open relationship movement. I don't think it's natural, to be sleeping with loads of different people. I think if you're really in your masculine, and this is an opinion from my experience when I've, been and coached people around these different topics, I think if you're really in your masculine, you would want your woman and just to be sleeping with one woman, and to know that if she has a baby, it's your baby, and all the primal stuff. I think that's how you're hardwired. And I think if somehow you're disconnected somehow, like intellectually, emotionally, then it's that disconnect which creates, I just want to go and fuck everyone. And now let's go into this open relationship. And now let's just go into this sweet shop. And I honestly don't think you've got a big purpose. I think if you've got a big fucking purpose, you're channeling your energy, your sexual energy is lighting you up from doing what you love, from doing your purpose, from helping others, for serving, for being a good man, for helping other women and children. Not necessarily like, hey, I've slept with this person and now I'm just going to go out on the weekend and sleep with all these different people. And
Yeah, it's almost like a hedonistic or gluttonous behavior. You know what I mean? It doesn't really like, what purpose is it serving? I've had my single moments, and I've had those times in my life where, I have wanted to be more sexually frivolous, but it was ultimately unfulfilling. And I quickly got out of that mindset, and this is like twice in my life. Went through a bad breakup, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go be a single man, and I'm going to go, just talk to multiple women and whatever. It didn't last long. It was very unfulfilling. It it felt icky. It felt not right. You know what I mean?
yeah, it comes
It's
from
not
pain.
it's not right. Yeah.
You know what you're saying, Tomo, is like, I was in pain. So because I was in pain, I came from a disconnected place and I
100%.
wasn't connected. But this is where, when you have sex, even in a relationship, and I can say, in a relationship, I was not feeling my feelings. I'm like, oh, I'm sad, I'll just have sex. And again, like in any way, in a relationship or in any other way, it's just knowing how you're using making love. Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just feeling.
Is it out of distraction? Is it out of distraction or out of a? Yeah. No, you're right.
It's just understanding your relationship to something. Is your relationship to the sex or making love or whatever you want to call it, is that healthy? Are you doing it because it's a good thing, or are you doing it to escape pain or to not feel?
Yeah, I mean the feeling. When it comes to men are used to women feeling. Men are not used to being told, hey, it's okay to feel. Hey, it's okay to have emotion.
Yeah.
Don't fucking cry to your girl. Don't fucking sit there and if she's crying, don't start crying with her. She's gonna lose respect.
No,
she's
I
gonna,
agree with that.
She's gonna lose attraction. Don't fucking sit there and be as emotional as a woman. You still have to be fucking strong. She needs to know that you can still take care of business.
Yeah.
But when I ask this, men look at softness as potentially being perceived as weakness, and I think in some situations it could be. But is softness actually strength when it comes to men? Is the ability to be soft a strength?
Yeah, because, what we're talking around earlier, Tomo, is about you expressing your needs, knowing who you are. So if you can't express, if you can't say like, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, I find this disrespectful, you're just going to leave, right? So your relationship's not going to last, and you're going to pretend everything's okay in the honeymoon stage, and then you're out. And so it's so important to express yourself and to be you. That's the number one thing that you should do in relationships.
Yeah.
And I think that has to come with, actually, that hit me. Like sometimes, whoa, that hit me. And that's, and genuinely tuning in. Did that make you feel sad? Did that make you feel angry? What's going on with you? But having that emotional awareness and being able to articulate that is where you become an adult. Otherwise, you're in a reactive chaos and a reactive mess where you're like, I don't like this and I don't like that. Well, look, if you're explaining it as you go and like, hey, there's something that come up for me, it made me feel sad or it made me feel angry, that stepped on, and you own it as it's coming from you and you're not blaming, then you can work through these things.
Yeah, it's like an ultimate self-responsibility, something that I preach constantly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's coming from you. Yeah. Oh, that's another word that's being phased out of the English language. Responsibility. Oh goodness, don't say responsibility. How could we possibly be responsible?
Well, you created it all, right? You're creating it all. And if you're creating it all, the ultimate way out is responsibility and meaning. And otherwise you're just in victimhood.
What are some like practical tools that you can give some of the audience, give them to me. You're coaching me. Give me some practical tools, for, how we can step back into that self-leadership mode, into that understanding mode. How is it that, how can you help a man, from your perspective? I'm going to tell everybody to buy your book. You sent me your book. It's awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
I love it. Yes. So how can a man stop being a victim and start being in his power so he can understand himself, therefore he can love better? Give me some practical tools and ideas of how you can help a lot of men out there and help me. Yeah.
Okay, that's like quite a big.
I know, that's a whole other podcast. Just give me like 5 practical tips. Give me 5 practical. We'll do that.
Tips. Okay, like number 1, as you said, take responsibility for everything
Okay.
in your life. Number 2, start actually feeling what's going on. So actually tune into your body. So often people disconnect. So if something happens, what's going on? Is it in your heart that's happening? Put your hand on your heart, like put your hand on your stomach, like actually get back to you, back to your body, back to actually feeling within you. That will really help you in different situations because you'll be in more creation mode rather than reaction mode. So if you can look at something from a different perspective, you're going to be able to come out with a different outcome. And so the way that you do that is getting into your body. So really embodiment, working in your body. I'm big on that. And then remembering your subconscious. So I'd say when you wake up in that morning, you've got that 10-minute window. When you go to bed, you've got that 10-minute window. Your brain is in theta. You are reprogramming your subconscious. What are you watching? Start watching things that positively influence you. What you say, after I am, basically nothing changes unless it changes in the now. So many people say, in the future, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get her when I have this. Forget all of that and claim it like you've got it here now. You've got everything you need now that you are loved, you are safe. Whatever it is you don't think you have it now. And
affirm it to be true.
Here.
Affirm it to be true.
Because you can only change it if it's here in the present moment. Otherwise, nothing changes. That's why nothing changes in people's lives. So you can reprogram that in your own subconscious when you wake up in the morning, writing it down, I am, or saying it to yourself, or listening to a meditation, changing your beliefs. So I'd 100% advocate to do that. And visualization, as we discussed, your mind can't tell the difference between imagination and reality. If you can visualize happy times, even in painful experiences, you'll get through it. If you can, before you go to sleep, visualize everything, working out for you and your vision, and it just makes you smile. Even if that's just sitting on the beach, do it, because you're going to produce some hormones. You're going to produce some happy hormones. You're going to be able to sleep and you'll start creating it. Like when I gave birth to the exact time I visualized of 7 a.m. with no medication, that's how I did it.
Really?
That's how I done it.
Wow.
Yes, yeah,
so
I done it myself. So I used to take painkillers. I was under a consultant that said, you've got this condition, it's going to get worse, you need a medicalized birth. And I remember going, no. And not in a defiant way, but in a loving way. So I was like, you're the doctor. And I know a lot about hospitals. I've been in and out them my whole entire life. But I was
money makers.
Yes, very much so. But I was like, Dr. Egbar, you've come into this profession out of love. You've seen the worst case scenario. The highest litigation is in the maternity ward. I study deep. So I studied hypnobirthing to teach. So when you learn all this stuff, you have more empathy. I think knowledge gives you more empathy. So I learned all this, and then I was able to give him love and go, okay, I know he has to tell me this. I know it's a high litigation. I know that he's fear-based, but I'm love-based. I went away and I self-healed my condition. So in 2 weeks I went in, he's like, the fluid's gone. The fluid's not around the baby. Like, what have you been doing? And I told him I'd been coaching myself. Like I asked it what the extra fluid came to teach me. Did I think I'd get more love? Did I think I would get more attention? Like I coached myself through it. And then I imagined like pink golden light around my soul. And I'd done that self-healing meditation process every day for 2 weeks. It healed. And then I went on, and then the right things came. I was really in my feminine, really connected to source, gods, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And that was the best experience. I think a lot of people talk about manifesting, but that's the best thing that I ever manifested because it's an experience no one can take from me. And
that's remarkable.
Oh, no, it was amazing because...
That's remarkable. Yeah, no, I truly that's when I think about manifesting and affirmations, and I've manifested a lot of success in my life and things and behaviors and You know, when I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, oh, fuck, I thought about him 10 years ago. But what you just did, you know, with your birth and, you know, with, you know, the way your body was responding to the pregnancy, that's remarkable. And that's the power that you're trying to tell other people. That's remarkable.
Well, it's self-hypnosis, right? So it was my mind, and it was also your body talks. Like, again, if something happens, you have an illness, there's often a reason, a mental reason behind it. And if you understand the mental reason, or you understand maybe you need more love or you want more attention, and if you really understand your body's trying to tell you something, you can heal it. And so that's why people become ill again and again. It's because they don't get to the root cause, the emotional cause. And then to know that you are powerful, because I was very much, I'm having a home birth and I'm having it at 7 a.m. It needs to be 7 a.m. I've got no help with childcare for my oldest daughter. It needs to be, and literally it was down to the time. And like when you, when you do that, you're like, ah. And that was all visualization, mental rehearsal, playing it again out and out. Your mind can't tell the difference between imagination and reality. And then it was also honouring everyone that came into my path. I honoured the doctor, even though I went against the doctor. But I said, thank you, Dr. Egbar. I got him a book. And he said, Marina, I put that book in the cart to buy that book last night. But it was shipping from the US. It was like Brendan Birch's book at the time. And he called me up, that doctor, and he said, if you need me to come to your house at any time, I'll come to your house. And it was me honouring everyone in my path that created that outcome. It wasn't just me. It was me honouring everyone, listening. Someone said, oh, what about hypnobirthing? I was like, I was on the course learning it to teach because that's what I'm like.
Yeah.
I listened to all the signs, and then I honoured even the midwife. She became like a friend of mine, and I just honoured. I couldn't have done it without her. And you know what? It was more amazing having her more there than my ex-husband. Like, I don't necessarily believe that a man needs to be there. I think he needs to be outside of the room, like as a protector, like, because that's how we are imprinted as mammals. So a woman is meant to give birth in the dark, unobserved. Literally, you need the touch hormone, you need Vesperin, you need it to be dark, you need melatonin. As a baby gets stuck. So all these things people are not told. And so just having the midwife like stroking my arm, and it was her more than anything. And I think, again, getting back to that more traditional way, as long as the protector's somewhere there, he doesn't necessarily need to.
Yeah, he's outside. He's outside with a
Outside
sword
the
or a
door.
gun or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, because that's how it is primarily wise.
Yeah.
And, you know, so again, I think there's a lot of men that don't want to be right there when a woman's giving birth. That's understandable. Again, the way you get the baby in is meant to be the way the baby comes out when you study it.
In the dark.
So, like, if you make love, like lots of men, if they go into hospitals, they've done this little study and they've got this guy and he's in like this bright light and he's in this clinic and they're going to him, oh, have you got a hard on? Have you got a hard on? And he's just like, no, I can't do it. And these poor women have to give birth in these environments.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole birthing process used to be, it was a communal thing. It was the mother, the grandmother, the aunts were there, and it was all females that were surrounding. There's no men in the room.
No. And
yeah.
I think that's more natural.
It's not supposed to be.
I think it's
not supposed to be.
I think it's, you know, and again, I think it's become very masculinated, that process, the C-section, the taking the feminine.
Well, that's a money. That's a moneymaker. They're all that you are there is a dollar sign when you are there giving birth in a hospital. It's absolutely repulsive.
Yeah.
You know?
It's really sad because that's a lot of trauma. And then a lot of women get postnatal depression. It's very abusive. So, yes. I think if we talk about manifestation, it should be more on your experiences and overcoming yourself more than materially.
Yeah. Materially is such a small portion of it, you know. I look at material things as trophies. I've said this before. I look at something like a nice watch that I like.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I can sell this now. It's not about that. It was about the accomplishment of getting to achieve being able to buy this means more than the actual thing.
Yeah.
Being the person, being the person that can do this.
And then I think it's nice then to go like, it doesn't matter, it doesn't define me, I can give it all away. Or if you have it, I'm not worried I can lose it. I think
Yes.
it's lovely to like nice things, to like beauty, but if it defines who you are, this is why if a relationship defines who you are, you will lose the relationship.
100%.
If material things define you, who you are, then you'll probably lose them. Because ultimately it's you v you, always.
Well, that's a lack mentality.
Yeah.
Lack mentality. Lack mentality is a mentality of loss. You're afraid of losing it. You're thinking about the possibility of it. That is, you will manifest that loss. It will happen. Just like you manifest gain, you know, in every single way. You manifest gain, but it's not about this gain. It's about this and this gain. That's what it's about.
Yeah. And it's about you and your experiences. And and about doing it from a heart-centered place, not a fear,
Yeah.
limitless place.
Yeah. Beautiful. Closing statements, closing arguments, closing questions. What's your hope for men moving forward into love, leadership, legacy? What's your hope? What's your hope with your book, The Bible of Love? What is your main goal and your purpose here and what you're doing?
I think the main goal is that they just know that they're lovable and they connect back to themselves and all of themselves and own who they truly are and take full responsibility and then really create beauty and beautiful relationships and that is really helping the world, helping humanity. They drop back into their soul rather than the disconnect of blaming everyone. It's the women's fault, it's this person's fault, it's this, taking that creation process in their own hands and creating a beautiful life for everyone around them.
I love it.
Including
Where can people find you? Sorry. What did you say?
Well, including themselves, it starts with them, right? So it starts with them, their health, their wellness, looking after themselves, mind, body, and soul, and really understanding that it's okay to slow down, to feel, to process, and then stepping into pure love.
I love that. Where can people find you? Where can they find your website, your Instagram, your book link? When is your book going to be out? I think it's out now. I'm not sure.
Yes.
But where can people find all this information so they can connect with you?
Well, I'm on different platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. My website's my name. And yes, my book's on Amazon, but the new one's going to be released in the next few weeks. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I need a copy of that book. I'm going to have it. I'll have it right here, and I will be passing it out to multiple men in my inner circle, so we can all learn and grow. Understand that softness is not weakness. Understand that knowing yourself is number one. Learning how to affirm and manifest the environment that you want as a man, so you can live through love and live in love. That's what I love about this whole thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Marina, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Sending you lots of love. Thank you for yes. This is gonna be the cover photo.
We got there.
Yeah, that's gonna be. Yeah, no, I'm really appreciative for your time. Really looking forward. And the next one that we do, the next podcast that we do, because there will be another one, I guarantee it. Because this conversation could be going for hours. I guarantee that.
Yeah.
We will do it, whether it's in Dubai, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in the US, we'll figure it out. But we'll do an in-person podcast. Gary's already in. He's already told me, he's like, when are we going to UK? When are we going to Dubai? Let's do an in-person. We'll get it worked out.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been an honor. Thank you. And yay, super excited to actually see you in person.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Guys, make sure you follow her. All her links are going to be on the bottom. Make sure you check out her new book, The Bible of Love, how to stop fucking yourself over and start making love to yourself, to her, and to life. Thank you, Marina.
Thank you.